This is Grief and Grit, from heartache to high fives with a dash of sass. The podcast that turns the tables on traditional grief talks with a fresh, sassy spin. Listen in for candid conversations about the messy, awkward, and downright hilarious aspects of dealing with loss. Because sometimes the best way to cope is with a little laughter and a lot of grit.
Hi, Simonie.
Hi, Greer. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
I am good.
Yeah.
I am good. Yeah. I am. How's Amelie feeling today?
She's like getting there. I would say she's still like she was yesterday. I'm optimistic about the next 2 days.
Once the virus works its way out.
I know. I need her back at school on Monday.
I know.
We've got to end this thumb sucking situation.
That's the problem.
Yeah, she brings everything home. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see.
So if anyone out there has any
Oh my God.
recommendations,
Especially for a strong-willed child, please. Yes. Yes.
because I never had that.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
Yeah, I had it with both, and it was somehow easier with Jack than with Amelie. So who knows?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I'm sure she's going to turn the corner and she'll be
She
there.
will. She will.
Yeah.
Well, I am really excited because today we have a friend of mine on. She is the CEO and co-founder of SupportNow. It's Jordan Arogeti. She is a mom of 3 adorable kiddos, and she is doing it all. And she and her husband, Scott, founded this incredible organization that helps people in their most difficult times, whether they're going through diagnosis, a death, a crisis of any sort. And I'm just so excited to have Jordan here. So welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. This is such a treat.
Yay.
Yeah, thank you, Jordan.
I know. I feel like this has been such a long time in the making. And watching Support Now really just grow, because I've seen it from the very beginning. It's so exciting.
You
and
sure have.
And to know that y'all are helping so many people, what a blessing.
It is.
So-
Every day we get to go to bed, and no matter what the numbers look like, we know that every day we have an opportunity to help at least one family, and that's the greatest blessing, and that's the alignment that I think so many of us seek, and we just get to live it every day.
Yay. Amazing.
And I
Yeah.
think for sure it's such an important component is the support component.
Yes.
We speak so much and we have so many people on, the show that have been through the loss, that we kind of forget what it means to support.
Right.
Support the griever or support the person going through a crisis. And I think this is awesome.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm excited to get into it because that's so much of what I think makes Support Now unique is that in some ways, while we serve families, we really serve supporters. We really serve the community that has this desire to help. And of course, we need to learn and add as much value to families as possible and understand what their needs are. And the opportunity we saw is that there's so much room to educate, inspire, and then give people a place to activate that goodwill so that they show up in the ways that are meaningful for the people they love. And that's why I think conversations like this, it goes both ways. I get to keep learning from people like you, and you get to learn from us and what we're hearing from communities and supporters, and that's ultimately how we build something meaningful.
Amazing.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, so what inspired Support Now? Talk to us about that.
Well, I'm looking at her. There's a long story and there's a short story. And I think we have the time to give a little bit of the longer version.
Yeah.
Please.
I'm very honest that I don't approach this concept as someone that has been through the hardship. I haven't experienced traumatic loss, thank God, knock on wood. I often say I lead a very boring life, and I like it that way. And through COVID, like a lot of people, I was on the receiving end of numerous text messages, emails, phone calls, Facebook notifications that people I loved were going through some really hard things. Loss, NICU babies, cancer diagnosis, house fires. And I remember turning to my husband, Scott, saying, man, we really live in this culture of cash and casseroles. And as someone whose background is in B2B sales, what I realize is that we're really conditioned by the tools available to us. So, the GoFundMe's of the world have made it easy to give money, and Meal Train has made it easy to drop off meals, and Caring Bridge has made it easy to send updates.
Absolutely.
But it wasn't comprehensive.
Right.
And it really didn't hit what I learned through the people that I loved, what their needs fully were. It's a part of it. So the first iteration of the company was actually solely focused on loss. And Greer, who we had the pleasure of meeting through her life-altering situation, we watched and we observed and we asked a lot of questions about what it felt like to be a griever. And so the early iteration of what we built under a different company name was both marrying the idea of supporting people in these practical ways with also helping people collect stories and memories and anecdotes of a person's life through the perspective of everyone that knew and loved them. And so Greer was a very instrumental part of us learning about the perspective of what a grieving family needed, that went beyond the emotional, and also really helped us understand the tactical, the practical. How was she living day to day? And how could we build something that really moved the needle for her? Because as I learned from Greer and from others, you're in survival mode.
Right. Truly.
Correct.
You're in survival mode.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
Correct.
so much of what we've built has been very intentional. We spent a lot of time asking questions in discovery, talking to people to understand what their perspective is and was of whatever life-altering moment that was. And eventually that led us down the path to create Support Now. And actually Greer the term support registry came from her.
Wow.
I had no idea.
Yeah, you did.
Wow.
I'll never forget it. We were sitting in my
Yeah.
dining room and we were asking you, okay, we understand that pictures and stories can be helpful. It certainly leaves this artifact for your children to better understand who Jared was. And you rattled off very quickly a series of other things that actually was very helpful for you to push you forward because life moves forward.
Right.
Exactly.
And so that's when we really started thinking, gosh, this could be a really interesting concept to marry these two things together. And then when we went to market and we realized, the picture and story side of the company, it wasn't that people didn't see value in it. It's just very hard to do.
Correct.
Right.
Absolutely.
And then what we did, and I think this is what good business people do, is you listen to your customers, you listen to the market, not to what they're saying, what they're doing.
Right.
And so we looked at what people were doing, and through a variety of feedback we got, both from their behaviors as well as people were coming in to create these support registries, and they were saying, hey, I really love what you're doing, but I have a friend who has a baby in the NICU and they're not going to die, but I want to use your platform to support them. Can I still use this?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so what we did is we decided to really broaden the aperture of what we were doing to be more inclusive of all of these major life moments. And 2 years to today was the pivot that we made from the previous product and company to Support Now.
Wow.
How about that time?
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Yes. Oh my God. Okay. So your son's birthday and truly the real
birth of-
official
yeah.
kickoff of Support Now.
It was.
Oh my God.
It's to share it that this
I
podcast
Yeah.
got pushed a couple times, but and that's actually part of why I was so committed to having it on today and not to move it because it's my son's birthday. Today is a very special day in Support Now's history.
Wow.
Oh my God. Well, happy birthday.
Thank
Now.
you. Thank
I'm
you.
honored.
Totally.
First that you're here for your son's birthday, but also that you're here
Yes.
to support now. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
That's
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Amazing.
Well, kudos. Truly. Okay, so next, I guess in talking to everybody, I know that, as you said, you did so much discovery and talking to different people in different situations. What gaps were you hearing about from people in crisis?
So there's a lot of gaps, and I think the gaps exist for multiple reasons. One gap is on the griever side, and part of this is just psychological, as you both have experienced. There is a very real decision fatigue that happens, particularly in the early stages of grief,
100%.
Yeah.
especially, and let me be specific, loss grief. Grief
Right.
manifests in a lot of different
Right.
ways.
Sure.
We've been as a culture to
Only
Absolutely.
we hook onto grief thinking it's only loss, but that's
It's
Yeah.
true. It's not.
So-
There's so many components. to
right.
it.
So, I talk to moms and parents all the time of sadly, of children that get cancer. They are in grief.
100%.
They are in grief.
Yes.
So I think that's a really important thing to learn. So the first thing that we had to understand is that when people are at that early stage, that trauma, that shock, if we are dependent on these families, on these primary caregivers or these primary grievers to give direction, you're going to be waiting a really long time.
Right. Right. It's so
Because
true.
they're in a fog.
Right. Well,
They-
and I love that you brought up decision fatigue. I didn't know what that was until however many months into this process. And I flipped out. I was like, oh my God, I have that.
You're like, that's it.
Yes.
That's it.
They putting words to what I can't even describe.
Yep.
Yes.
And so part of the gap is that most people that want to help someone through what we call a major life moment, they're not aware that decision fatigue is a thing.
Right.
Right.
The gap that exists is we're asking the wrong questions.
Yeah.
We're asking, how can I help? Or what can I do?
Yeah.
When in fact, that person,
doesn't know.
they are in no position to respond
Correct.
to
To
that
even
question.
know,
Right.
because they don't know at that point what they
No.
need.
And by the way, that is not to be critical of people that ask those questions because it's a natural question to ask.
Exactly. No one knows.
Correct.
No,
And-
exactly.
And I think there's this huge disconnect because when you have gone through a traumatic loss like that, your brain is rewired. There is PTSD, your executive functioning skills aren't working, you can't answer questions, you can't even focus on a text for 5 seconds to answer.
Yeah.
And it's for all of the reasons. So everyone who's trying to support is coming from a great place, they can't even unless they've been through a similar situation, they can't fathom the difficulty it is to respond to those what should be simple questions.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And so I think the big not issue, but the big thing to solve is really the education piece.
Right.
We have to re-educate people on how to offer support in a way that's helpful, not overwhelming, just generally effective.
Absolutely.
And so much of the early parts of building the second iteration of the product, the company that's now SupportNow, was understanding that there's a gap that exists between the families going through the really hard moment and the people that know and love them. And what we wanted to do was kind of create a space where we could prompt people in to the behaviors we learned from families were actually helpful.
Amazing.
So that's kind of the first part. And then the second part of the gaps is, again, what I learned through people like yourself, Greer, is that our tendency is to say, oh, let me send them a check.
Right.
Let me drop off a
Absolutely.
meal.
Yeah.
And again,
Yeah.
those things can be helpful.
The cash and casseroles.
Cash and
Right.
casseroles. I
Right.
say it all the time. I say it every day.
Yeah.
It's very catchy. It's very easy to remember. And the day-to-day reality is that the little things are really the things that empower and motivate people to get out of bed. It's the laundry, it's the dog
Yes.
walking, it's the watching a
Absolutely.
child, it's picking your kids up, it's errands. And there was really no technology or space that was creating a way, an easy way for people to activate on those little things. And so it's really a combination of understanding what's happening at a psychological level, while also offering a new perspective on these little things, while also incorporating money and meals if that's helpful, and then bridging those two things together.
Right.
Amazing.
Yeah. I mean, truly. So I guess what are some of those well-meaning missteps that you see often?
Oh, so many. Where do you,
And I've seen you talk about this some in
Yeah.
reels, and
Yeah.
I'm like, ooh, yeah, she's good.
it's a lot in words.
Yeah.
It's a lot in words. And again, I'm very, I try to be very gentle with this because I genuinely believe that most people are coming from a good place.
Oh, 100%.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. It's not even a question.
And we have to remind people when they're in that grief place, rather than focusing on the actual words, it's focusing on the intent. You have to do that because otherwise you just get too frustrated and people don't know. People are
And
uncomfortable with the
especially people
uncomfortable.
who haven't been through anything.
Exactly. Like they're trying.
They don't know. And we, especially in this country, we want to get to the happy ending.
Correct.
We are so uncomfortable
Yeah.
in the stress and the discomfort of it all. And so what tends to happen is we want to very quickly get to a place where we can justify it because we're so uncomfortable sitting in the fact that
So uncomfortable.
some things are just
Right.
you can't comprehend. They
People
don't make
Right.
sense.
yeah,
You can't
people just
fix
don't, so
loss. You can't fix a diagnosis
Correct.
that's incurable. You
Correct.
can't and you can't fix the experience that someone is going through as they're struggling.
And that's really what it is. That's what it comes down to. I think the number one mistake people make is they think that you're there to fix it or to make
Right.
someone feel better.
Right.
When in reality, what most grievers want is someone to be able to sit and be there with them in that emotion, in that anger, in that trauma, in that sadness, which means not saying everything happens for a reason or God has a plan,
Yeah.
but instead saying, I don't know why this happened to you. This is so unfair.
Right.
Yeah.
And you will earn so much trust with that person by meeting them exactly where they are instead of trying to turn this awful thing into something that somehow is a positive when you're not in a space to be positive.
Right.
And that is a very small adjustment that I think most people just miss. They miss the opportunity. You're not there to make it better. You can't make it better.
Correct.
Right.
So just meet them where they are because what that allows, what I have found is that then the primary caregiver, the primary griever, now you've earned their trust to say, yes, you're right.
You can't,
Right.
exactly.
You're
Exactly.
right. I don't know why me? Why you have to allow people to live and you can't live in that forever, but
Right.
we're too quick to say, "Hey, I want to take you from this to a place that they're just not ready to go to yet."
Right. Right. And 4 years later, I feel like I can say this. It is really hard asking for help. A lot of people struggle with that. And at this,
I know I still do.
yeah,
And I'm 17 years later.
right. Well, and at the same time, my situation hasn't changed.
Correct.
I'm 4 years in, and how long do people keep having to ask for help? I mean, look, adjusting schedules because there's a sick kid upstairs. Like, thankfully, I'm in a position where I can figure things out and I have support. A lot of people don't, though, and their situation is still the same as it was, however many years ago. And when there is someone who can sit with that griever's discomfort, pain, whatever it is, they're showing that griever that they're a priority. And then they become on that, to your point, like that trusted list, that list of people that we know that we can count on in those moments. Because when we ask for help, and no matter how small or big the ask is, so often people have good intentions, but it's an inconvenience. And the effort that it takes for us to ask and then for someone to not realize that on the other end is really hard and challenging. So that list, especially over time, just gets shorter and shorter and shorter. And while grief, when you're going through, especially the initial months, it's really isolating. It still can be very isolating just in the everyday.
Yeah.
And I feel like with what you're building, you are giving people the opportunity to truly be on that trusted list,
Absolutely.
which is amazing.
So there's a couple of things. One thing that really struck me when we were talking to grievers, specifically of loss, is how quickly people faded.
Yes. Yes.
The
Oh, yeah.
stampede of
Yeah.
support that's there within the first few weeks and months.
Yep.
and then it
Gone.
very
Yeah.
quickly vanishes. And so one of the elements of support now that we try to focus on is really extending that timeline of support, because most people don't understand that grief certainly doesn't go away. It's not linear, and there's waves and peaks. And so one of the goals is that there is a really like an apparatus, a vehicle for people to stay in touch and in tuned with what those families' needs are, as a reminder that that grief
It's still there.
is still there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to call out that has been very interesting to learn is that oftentimes the people that you expect to be the closest to you in your moments of crisis
Are
don't
not.
end up on that list that you talked
Exactly.
about,
Right.
It's so true.
Yeah.
because it's people are uncomfortable.
Right.
They're very uncomfortable. And so you can make your way like into that inner list or inner circle, I guess, without having to have this like years long closeness with someone. And you can
Correct.
also get yourself off of that list.
Right.
Right.
And that's been really sad to see. I've seen this kind of manifest in a personal way, and certainly anecdotally through families that we've interacted with.
Right, right.
Just how surprised certain people are
Yes.
at the
Both
reactions.
ways.
Both
Yes. Totally.
Yeah, people
Totally.
you didn't expect are suddenly your people.
Yes.
And people that were like supposed to be there for you all the way through
completely.
and they're not there.
But I want to wrap this back to what Greer's point, because it is hard asking for help. It's especially hard asking for help though from people that you don't trust.
Yes.
It's not as hard to ask for help from people that you don't feel any guilt associated with it.
Right.
So where I think we sometimes get it wrong is supporters get frustrated. Well, they haven't asked my help.
Right.
They haven't reached out to tell me what their needs are.
Right.
When in fact it's, have you earned the trust of that person to be open and vulnerable enough with you
Correct.
to tell you or to give you hints of what you can be doing?
Right.
Because you have to establish that level of comfortability with someone
Right.
in order for them to feel like it's not a burden to put it on you, because you now know that they have not just signed up for it, they want to do these
Correct.
things.
Right.
And so I think that's a learning I've had even in the last several months in talking to social workers and some more psychologists about this concept about it's still ultimately on supporters to earn the trust of these friends and family members so that the person they love feels comfortable enough to give them that direction.
Absolutely.
100%.
And if someone is looking to earn that trust, I think having the mindset of how can I reduce the burden that they're facing? You know, it's really trying to sit with them and understand like, okay, 6 months later, hey, wanted to check in. I know it's been a while. How has your week been? You know, just those, when you're thinking about the person, don't just think about it and then let the thought fade. Actually text that person, call that person. There are still errands that need to be run. Maybe they would love to get away from the kids for a while, whatever the situation is, because again, their situation is still the same.
Yeah.
It hasn't changed.
And I'll add to that. I think one of the things I've learned is that those interactions can be the most valuable on the non-big days.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely.
100%.
And big days
100%.
defined by
Birthdays,
Anniversary.
anniversary,
Exactly.
yeah.
of course.
Yep.
And again,
Yep.
I think everyone
Holidays,
should
yeah.
should
Totally.
reach out on those days too. But you have no idea
Right.
how uplifting, how comforting it is to hear from random people in your life. Again, no matter the
Yes.
closeness of the relationship, to say, "Hey, I just want to let you know I'm thinking about you."
Right.
Or
Yeah.
again, a memory. I just saw this and it reminded me of Jared.
Yeah.
Or I just saw this picture in a yearbook and gosh, it just made me think about you. And those little gestures wow, what a
Yeah.
difference it can make,
Oh,
and
Exactly.
the impression that you can make in the life and the mind of that person.
It's huge.
It's
It's invaluable.
it's invaluable, and it
It's
costs
forever
nothing.
remembered.
It costs
Exactly.
nothing.
Truly.
It just
Truly.
it's literally
Yes.
just a little bit of
Yes.
effort. And so that the tip I often give is set a reminder in your phone for
Yeah.
every few months, every few weeks to check in. And that's not because it shouldn't feel organic. It's almost just like it's a building a habit.
Right.
You have to get in the
Correct.
habit of
Yes.
reaching out.
Yes.
And,
Right.
and I see this, by the way, there's so many ways that I've tried to incorporate this, not just for people I love that have gone through hardship, but also just into my everyday life. I've gotten in the habit where once a month, I just send out like 5 to 10 gratitude texts.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. That's
Just
really
like
sweet.
taking a moment and
Yeah.
saying, I just want to let you know, like,
Yeah.
I'm so happy that you're in my life. I'm so grateful.
So much.
And
I love
and,
that.
and so if you can get in the
means
habit
so
of doing
much.
it in your everyday life, regardless of the circumstance,
Right.
it becomes so much more natural to check in with the people you love that are going through grief.
Right.
And it's, again, like any habit, you just have to get used to doing it, and you have to train your
Absolutely.
mind to think about it, because you're not a bad person for not having this idea
Right. No,
at
no,
all.
of course
No,
not.
no,
Right.
we're not built that way.
Right.
We don't come into the world with grief in the forefront of our brain.
Right.
It's learned. It's
It's
either
learned.
learned through what you experience yourself or what people around you experience. So it's learning
It's
all
learning.
the time.
It's learning. And I think that when you do those things, of course, if you're the recipient, you're like, wow, that's so sweet.
Yeah,
So
Right,
so
right.
And it
nice.
is,
Right.
but it makes you feel so good. It makes you feel so grounded. And I actually believe that it is a very innate part of who we are as humans. I often, I did a lot of research on this. As humans, we are very tribal. We were born
Exactly.
and lived
Yes.
in villages for so long, where these things were actually very much a part of our culture. I think as we've evolved as a civilization, and for technology and all these
Right.
reasons, it's become harder to get back to that.
Absolutely.
But we're certainly capable of it. And I think once you get in the habit of it, it's addicting. And what it does, not surprisingly, is it kind of forces the person as the recipient to say, man, I should do that for a few other people that I feel that way.
Right.
Because
Right. It becomes
It's-
that village mentality.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
cyclical, and
Yeah.
and more now than ever, don't we need just a little bit of love and appreciation for just the blessings that we all have?
Absolutely.
Right, right.
Absolutely. And I think the important thing also for a person who's supporting a griever is not to make anything about yourself.
Correct. You can't expect
So,
anything.
yeah,
Right.
so many people make it about themselves
Yeah.
in their support for somebody else. So I think that's an important thing as well. Like, don't go to a griever and start talking about yourself.
This sounds a little morbid on my part, but I'll say it anyway because I feel comfortable. Sometimes I completely agree. If you can't think or expect a response, like expect no response.
Correct.
Right.
Don't expect someone to reciprocate. And that's not why you do it. You do it because you want to share a sentiment, a
Yeah.
belief, a feeling with the person. You're not doing it because you need someone to say, "Oh, wow, you're so amazing. Thank you so." No, that's
No,
honestly,
no.
I get uncomfortable when
Absolutely.
people say, "I'm like, no, ugh," like
Yeah,
I don't wanna
yeah,
hear that.
like-
And most
Right.
people don't, by the way. They
Correct. You just want to do it.
I'm horrible at taking a compliment. I want to ignore that compliment as quickly as possible. And in building this company, one of the things that I appreciate more now than ever is the fragility of life, of health.
Yes.
And so sometimes when, at least in my own experience of sending these gratitude texts or checking in with people I love, I always tell myself, like, if something happened to me, what's the first thing you do when you hear someone's passed or someone's sick is you look at your text message chain. You look at
Yeah.
your receipts, you look at the last email. And I often think of like, what's the impression I want to leave on this person?
Right.
Right.
Because
Right.
that becomes the story that they tell themselves about you.
Yeah.
And it's a really
That's-
it's a really
that's-
weird way of looking at it,
No, but
admittedly.
that's That is a good way of looking
but
at it.
it's a good reminder that like
Yes.
these things matter.
Right.
And like every day you have an opportunity to make an impression, a positive impression on someone. And to me, it costs nothing.
It costs nothing.
I feel like we need to do a session on legacy. I mean, because that kind of reminds me of like the precursor of Support Now. And also, we need to live the values that support the legacy that we want to build. and
Totally.
leave.
Like, what are people going to say about you one day? And like, I know I think about that stuff all the time. And again, I think it's because I'm conditioned by the work that I do. You know, we read and we see what's happening to a lot of the families that create Support Nows. And you just realize that like right now, like in this very moment is your opportunity to build the words and the legacy that people will speak of you on.
Right. Yeah.
And again, that's part of what's so fulfilling, although difficult in the line of work that we're in. And it really does like it makes you more grateful. It makes you a better person.
Absolutely.
It's heavy for sure. But it's just a good reminder for people that, you know, because I know I listen to a lot of podcasts and I think, oh, well, I'll do that the next time, you know, someone I know goes through something. But you could be waiting a really long time for that.
Yeah.
Right.
So just wait.
Right.
So just do it with the people that are perfectly fine, able-bodied, healthy.
100%. You don't have to. Exactly.
And so by the time something does happen, and it will,
Yeah.
you're ready.
Right.
You're ready.
Right.
Truly.
Yeah.
So you recently gave a TED Talk here in Atlanta. Amazing. I watched it. You were phenomenal.
Thank you.
And you talked about support languages. And watching you, I just had this aha moment like, yes, this is so important because it's like we have our love languages. And everyone responds to things in a different way. And the ways that you choose to support, having that knowledge can help you in so many ways for these situations. Because the reality is, you know someone who is going to go through a difficult situation.
Yeah, everyone does.
It's not yourself. Like, I God forbid, but the reality is, it's going to happen.
Exactly.
So having that knowledge, that self-awareness, I think is so helpful. So talk to me about how you guys kind of came up with this. I'm so fascinated and grateful that this exists.
Yeah.
Oh man, I could talk for hours about this TED Talk because it was such a topic of discussion in our house. You know, I'm very blessed to be married to a husband that sees more in me than I see in myself. When I got this opportunity, my reaction was no, I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
I'm not doing this. I already feel overwhelmed. I'm at capacity. The company, the kids, like, no, this is going to be a major time suck. And he really pushed me to say, I won't let you say no because I think you'll regret it for the rest of your life. You'll always wonder what would have happened if I would have done it.
Right.
And he was like, and I'll help you. You're not alone, blah, blah, blah. Like, ugh, okay, fine. So I did this TED Talk very begrudgingly. And part of why I was reluctant is I didn't know what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
I didn't know. You know, I think some people like, when you hear about the opportunity to give a TED, you're like, oh, I know exactly what I talk about. They say it's like giving the talk of your life. I always joke, unless it's about Carolina basketball, I don't know what I want to talk about. I really don't. I really don't. So it took me a long time. I was very fearful about the topic,
Right.
because it wasn't something I ever anticipated. And as I really sat with it, what I kept coming back to was this idea of support languages. And so as we've alluded to earlier in the conversation, part of what I think people love about Support Now is that it's like the most inclusive platform, meaning you can do anything on Support Now. You can give money, you can send a meal, but you can also volunteer to do anything.
Absolutely.
Anything. And so somewhere along the line, we coined this phrase, support languages. And that's really what makes Support Now unique, is that anyone can express their support language through Support Now, because you may not be the cook. So don't cook.
Right.
You may not
Right.
be the person that wants to cut a check, so don't do it.
Right.
Correct.
And so that started to formulate. And then we began to work backwards to say, these love languages exist. People tend to they really gravitate to that. And part of the challenge of our business, by the way, is most people don't want to get heavy and deep.
Right. That's
It's
totally
hard for people to think about hard
Absolutely.
things.
absolutely.
So we were like, okay, well, could we create a quiz? Could we create a framework that felt a little less intimidating, more self-discovery?
Right.
And so we actually worked backwards. So we created this quiz to say, okay, could we create different support languages that helped people understand how they naturally show up in a person's life? And then from there, we created the talk. So it was a really interesting, I feel like we went the entirely wrong way that people would
But it,
expect.
But it's so
but it landed up
meaningful.
a perfect.
It's something that
worked.
can resonate with every single person. Truly.
And I think, and I'm sure we'll talk about this. I get asked a lot about, well, because there's 8 different support languages, and sometimes people say, well, I think I'm both of these.
Right,
And that.
a
And what
mix.
about if
Yeah.
my close friend versus a girl?
Right.
There's a lot. The reality is what we're trying to do is we're trying to push people forward
Right.
through thinking of the lens that Jordan, or I, supporter, I have a role to play.
Mm.
And the role to play is not to sit on my hands and do nothing.
Right.
Ultimately, the call to action is that do something.
Right.
Do something. And that's, if you listen to the TED Talk, that's how I end.
Yeah.
Don't sit on the sidelines, whether this is a person you haven't talked to in 20 years,
Absolutely.
whether it's the person that you talked to 20 minutes ago.
Right.
We all have a role to play in supporting people. And so this quiz, while it's important to to gain an understanding of what you're naturally inclined to do, that's helpful.
Yeah.
Really, the thesis of it is that we're all capable of doing something in every
Something.
situation.
Absolutely.
And what we've tended to lean towards, and again, culturally, is that if I don't know exactly what to say, if I don't know exactly what to do, I'm just going to do nothing.
Right.
And that's the premise that I reject.
Yeah.
And I just think silence is often not met
No.
with kindness. And it's
Right.
It's just, it does
Absolutely.
more harm than good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, there are layers and variables and all of these things that should be considered. But ultimately, what I've learned through so many of the primary grievers I've learned from is what you don't realize is people are making a list
No.
of
Exactly.
the people that tried to do something,
Right.
and they remember the people that
Correct.
didn't do
Correct.
anything. And
Yeah.
that's the reality.
Yeah.
And
it's so true.
Yeah.
You
there's-
It's so
do.
true. You just do, whether
Right.
it's conscious or subconscious.
Right. I mean, it can absolutely be. I think truly, at least for me, it was very unintentional, and there's no written list or anything
Right.
like
You're not
that
like
that
writing
exists.
down.
Right. It's just it adds to the pain when you feel let down by someone that you thought would respond in a different way. It hurts. And that's what we remember. And again, I'm sure, I have no doubt it is absolutely unintentional. Again, it just goes back to the discomfort around all of this.
Yeah.
It still hurts though. It adds to the pain instead of helping to alleviate some of the pain by the random text or the random letter or the call or the whatever it is. It it's just something that we remember.
It's something that you remember. And again, I always say progress over perfection.
Yes.
So even
Absolutely.
if you send a text message with one of the phrases that we were laughing about before,
Right.
I think while in the moment that griever might take that and roll their eyes and be frustrated,
Right.
over time, what they said matters less than the intent behind it.
Yes.
Versus, I don't know what to say, so I'm not going to say anything.
Right.
And therefore,
Right.
you're leaving your friend, your family member wondering, hey, did you realize I was going through this hard thing? Did you not
Right.
care? Am I not a
Exactly.
priority?
Absolutely.
Right.
And so I have found that grievers, again, very respectfully, can be very emotional and dramatic. And
Yeah.
so, yes, there could potentially be some backlash for getting the words wrong initially.
Right.
But I find that what we found very consistently is that people soften over time.
Yeah.
Of course.
And they realize how difficult it must be to be in the other person's shoes when they find themselves trying to support someone.
Right.
And so, again, as clumsy and as awkward and as uncomfortable as it might be to reach out to someone, not knowing exactly what to say something.
Right.
Say something.
Absolutely.
And again, I think this happens even, and it's not the same thing as losing your husband, so I'm not equating it. I think back of when I lost my grandfather in COVID.
Right.
I remember the cousins that reached out to me and the cousins that didn't. And it just changes. It does change
does
the way
change.
you look at certain people.
Absolutely.
And people that you didn't maybe have the closest relationships come closer to, wow,
Right.
that was so respectful. That was so kind.
Right.
And the people that you thought you were close to that didn't reach out, it's not that I don't love them.
Right.
But I always remember that.
Yes.
Right.
And I don't think I'm alone on that.
Right. And
No, you're not.
and it probably and on this side of the table, I feel like it reinforces when there is a really traumatic loss or I'm going to say a significant loss when it is, God forbid, a spouse, a child, just someone who is part of your every single day. It makes it feel like you can't count on that person if and when that time does come because they didn't show up the first time when it was a little easier.
Totally.
And again, it's making people feel comfortable. It's making people feel safe. There's this book, I've talked about it before. It's a kid's book. You might even have it. It's called The Rabbit Listened. And if you don't have it, I highly recommend it for the kids. It is this amazing book. And it's for little kids. Little kids have really big emotions like a griever does. We are all over the place. And it shows all of these animals coming over to this little child. There's the snake who's like, let's get him. And there's the turtle or whatever that's, well, they knocked your castle down. We're going to knock their blocks down too. And all of these different things to try to get the little kid to feel better. And the kid just isn't feeling better until the rabbit just comes and sits. Doesn't say anything. Doesn't say anything, still doesn't say anything. And then you start to see the kid go through all of the different emotions that all of the other animals were trying to get out of the little kid. And we have those emotions in us. They do need to come out. We have to feel safe. And the rabbit made the kid feel safe. And it's not a grief book, but my God, it should be.
Yeah.
Because it just shows that finding comfort and just being there, someone is going to be forever grateful for that. And they will never forget that. And you will be on that trusted list. Absolutely.
I want that book. So I'll add it to my Amazon list. To me, like, as you both know, like loss is a part of life.
Right.
And I just don't think that people should wait to experience it to learn
100%.
what to do and not to do.
Right.
And that's part of the purpose of the TED Talk. That's part of the reason for the quiz. It's like prompting and reminding people that like you shouldn't have to wait to experience it. I mean, I'm sure this went through both of your minds where, gosh, I didn't realize what they were experiencing until I've had to go through it myself. And now I will look at any griever I know differently as a result of it. I personally don't want to wait that long to get it right.
And I think the important thing also is to realize that grief is messy.
That's so messy.
Yes.
It's so messy. So if you don't have to be perfect in your support to a griever.
That's right.
You can be as messy as the griever, and it doesn't matter if you say the wrong thing. Just say it as you said.
Right.
Totally.
Because it's messy. Everybody's messy. Everybody's cluttered. Your brain's in a fog. But you're there. You're somehow there in the mess.
Also, can't we just say hey, I'm really nervous to send this text message because
Yeah,
I'm not really sure what to say. I've
exactly.
never been in this experience before, but I just want to let you know I'm totally heartbroken. I don't know why this happened. I blah blah blah. So you can
Exactly.
can say you don't know what to say.
Right. Right.
And that is an appropriate
Yeah.
Saying vulnerability that you're feeling.
right. And because as the griever,
Yeah.
you're like, I also don't know what it would say to
That's-
me. I'm not sure.
No one knows.
But thank you for letting me know how you're feeling about it. That doesn't mean that you not knowing what to say is more important than what I'm experiencing.
Right.
But this is like what we have to get better at. We have to get better at having uncomfortable conversations. We have to get better at holding multiple things at the same time.
Exactly.
Like we just have to get better
Yeah.
at this because
Yeah.
as humans, we're nuanced. There's so many emotions we're holding at the same time. Grief just makes it harder.
Right. Right.
And again, it's every person I know that has experienced loss tells me that you're sad, you're angry, you're also grateful for the time that you had. And like,
Right.
so everyone is experiencing it.
Yeah.
The thing that just makes me the saddest is when I hear about vanishing friend syndrome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, again, the closest friends or family
Yeah.
members that
Yeah.
just vanish
Yeah.
because they're
Yeah.
so uncomfortable
Yeah.
with what this person's facing because they can't comprehend what they would do, and therefore they just exit the stage.
Yeah.
I always say it's sometimes like if I stick around too long, I'm going to catch what happened to them.
Right,
Like
right.
so it's better if I just get back in my bubble with my family or whatever and just stay there because I don't want to catch what she's got.
Right. Right.
Yeah, or like
Yeah.
that grief. You know, it's interesting though. I mean, this is like the old soul in me. I think everyone's worried that cancer is contagious,
Right,
Or that grief
right.
is contagious.
Yeah.
You know, God forbid we sit in something that's uncomfortable.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
God
Yeah.
forbid.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know, like, isn't that how we build empathy to think through how someone's feeling and sad and fearful and
yeah.
Absolutely.
You would think.
you would think,
Yeah.
you know, like,
Yeah.
and again,
So-
maybe that's just the,
No, but we have to learn those things.
We
'cause
have to
that's
learn those
important.
things.
And we live in a world now, unfortunately, that grief, it's grief is all I feel like all we know at the moment on so many levels. And people just have to get comfortable with grief and
Right.
grieving.
Learning to live with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
it's a hard thing.
It's a hard thing.
It is.
But I think you're doing an amazing, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, amazing
Yeah.
creating this. And I know I took your quiz.
Yay. Me too.
So yeah.
Okay. So which one are you?
I'm a listener.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I'll,
Can I make a guess, Greer?
Yeah.
Were you an organizer?
I was a connector, actually.
connector.
Yeah.
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 Which is
Yeah.
also a listener.
Okay.
I always joke, which is so funny because I love to talk, but I love to listen.
Absolutely.
I love to
Absolutely.
listen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, for your listeners, I encourage people to go to. We created a whole website. You know,
Yes.
supportlanguages.com. Go take it.
Yes.
Take it. Go see.
It's really easy to take.
5
It
minutes.
took, if not less. Like it was I mean, it was hard because like it was hard choosing between some of the choices. But it was easy in terms of the time. But really,
And it's
like
quick.
think through as you're taking it.
Yeah.
Like it's really it's fascinating.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. And when I saw that I was a connector, I realized it makes sense because I have noticed that when someone is going through grief, I am trying to find resources for them and I'm trying to connect them to maybe someone else who's been in the same situation or whatever. And I was like, yeah, totally makes sense.
Yep.
So there might be some organizer in me. I'm sure,
For sure.
there is.
For sure.
But connector was the one that really stuck
Yeah.
out. And I totally agree.
for
And,
me,
especially
listener,
at this
yeah.
stage for me right now.
Right.
This
Well, and that's the thing.
change over
It can
time.
evolve. It can evolve. And that's what, you know, some people are like, well, you know, I would be a different person, you know, if I experienced one of these things. It's like, of course,
Right.
because we evolve and we change.
We
and
change. That's
right.
the circumstances around a certain situation will require you to act and to activate one of these support
It's
languages.
all fluid.
But it's also one of the things that we're trying to get to is that typically when a tragedy occurs, there's an assembly, like a group assembles. So it's also
Yes.
there to help the group understand, okay, who's taking what role in this?
Right.
Who's kind of that lead organizer? Who's that back channel connector? Who's that emotional listener, right?
Right.
Like, so it's really also just helping. Again, we think about everything from the supporter lens. How can we how can we engage with supporters in a way that gives them the confidence to show up better in life's major life moments? And this
Supporting
is
the
just one
support.
apparatus that gives them the knowledge, that gives them the experience to say, okay, now I know what to do in this situation.
Yeah.
And so it's, listen, we're not going to take away the messiness of grief and
Right.
the messiness of anyone losing, God forbid, a husband.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be so chaotic on the supporter side if everyone knows the role that each person is
100%.
playing.
Right.
Because, by the way, it gets messy in the supporter world too. Of,
Sure.
well, I thought you were going to do this. And
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
we can kind of solve for some of the potential grievances that exist in that world while
Right.
trying to help the family.
So I'm
Amazing.
really excited. The next episode, we're actually having one of my best friends, Erin, on. She was
your organizer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and we've never really talked about like what happened in terms of how did she even become the organizer and what types of things did she have to do and what was she offloading? And so I'm really excited to like get her perspective 4 years later.
But this is
But yeah, I mean, but talking to you and learning about these support languages, it is so important because I keep reminding myself it takes a village. And my village, thank God, is huge. I could not be more grateful without my village, whether it's the text or the like Facebook comment or the person who literally showed up my first month back at work 4 mornings a week, 5 mornings a week to help me get my kids ready. She came at like 6 a.m., 6:30 a.m. I mean, and like would not let me pay her. I mean, this woman is like my guardian angel. And and so that's the thing. There is a
Gives me
range.
chills.
I mean, me too. There's a range of support. And any bit helps.
Every bit
Any bit
helps.
helps. It lifts us up.
And I don't think it's about the number of people.
No,
It's not.
no.
I think a
the
lot of
quality.
people get intimidated. I don't
Absolutely.
have a big family. I don't
You
have
don't have
No,
to
you
have
need two
Correct.
people.
Correct.
You need the right
that
people.
person or that
Exactly.
person
You
who'll
need the
do it.
right
100%.
people in your
Yeah.
life. It doesn't mean, and listen, it helps, right?
Right.
Because
Right.
we're all human. We all have responsibilities beyond supporting someone we
Right.
love, especially if you
Correct.
have your own family and
Absolutely.
children and your own mental. It doesn't take everyone. I
Right.
of course believe in
Yeah.
the value of a village, and it's so much about what motivates us at Support Now. It's like bringing this village back together. Like
Right.
we are designed to go through life as a herd to
Yes.
help each other.
Yeah.
Have life's ups and downs.
Yeah.
And maybe you only have a few friends. Just
Right.
make sure you've got the right ones in your life.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Just make sure.
Absolutely.
So this
Yeah.
has been amazing, Jordan.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much. And so what is the best way for people to get in touch with you, to learn more about it, to become part of the group, your village?
Yeah. Thank you. I love that question. Thank you so much. It really is such a treat being here with you all and Greer, just to be able to like look at you face to face and to honor everything that you've done to really cast vision for us and inspire us. I know you had Kurt Moore on the podcast recently, and the passing of Emily was also very instrumental in this concept because we saw what happened when Emily passed.
Right.
And that was a huge motivation for us. And so, from an Atlanta perspective, we're very driven by our own community.
Yes.
We're very inspired by our own community and all the ways that people show up for one another. And I think, in some ways, I joke that we want Support Now to be Atlanta's gift to the world.
I love that.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a little bit of Southern hospitality in what we do. It's
Absolutely.
different in the South. It's different. The number one way people can support us is by using us. And again, I want to reiterate, we see people using Support Now. It's completely free. It's completely ad free. But we see people using this from everything from a cancer diagnosis to a baby in the NICU to a house fire to loss. I mean, really
Anything.
anything.
Right.
situation.
Anything.
Right.
So the number one thing you can do if you're not in a position to use us is to refer us.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, we've found that our primary customer, our primary organizer tends to be a woman in their 30s and 40s, oftentimes a mom.
Yep.
And so if this podcast inspires you and you're in Facebook groups or on a WhatsApp channel or involved in a PTO, PTA, we want to be that resource that you feel comfortable referring when, not if, when these things happen, because they will.
They will.
They will.
Yeah.
And then, I would say the second call to action would be go take the support languages quiz.
Yes.
Like, kind of come into our world, get immersed in this.
Yeah.
And lastly, if you're curious to keep learning these tips, and we have a very active Instagram page, supportnow_org, where I try to share more of these tips in a very sometimes humorous way, sometimes a serious way, but always a shareable way.
Yes.
And the hope is that, again, it's not this like grief, sad page. It's really trying to inspire communities and have them rethink the way they approach support.
It's very informative and educational. Like I think that the practicality and the way that you approach it is really something that everyone should be following and learning from, and or it may just be validating if you've like been on the receiving end, who knows? So it really is a great platform, and hopefully people will continue to learn from it. Yeah.
Thank y'all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Jordan.
This was amazing.
Thank you.
Truly.
Amazing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for listening to Grief and Grit. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Substack, our website, griefandgritpodcast.com, and Patreon. So thank you for your support. And
We'll speak to you
that's
soon.
right. Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. If you love what you heard, please follow Grief and Grit and share our podcast with your friends and family.